me, I've only had one rule in business. Only one rule. Are you ready?
Tell me.
Don't.
The one and only Thom.
A successful music producer and businessman is behind the 10 CD collection that Oprah Winfrey named her favorite in 2002.
His career includes working with music legends and creating the Great New Zealand Songbook, raising $121,000 for charity.
I was managing director at 23. I had 30 staff working for me. I left school at 15, no qualifications, no prospects. I was a terrible kid, and that job changed my life.
Why?
Somebody gave me a chance.
Do you think it was fate? What was it like meeting Celine Dion?
Well, Celine Dion, we were bringing a product to New Zealand that had never been introduced before. I loved that part. Opportunities don't shout, they whisper. So having that pianist music feature on the biggest show in America, that was mind-blowing.
Tell me about that deal.
That's a very deep story in itself. When you're working for a multinational record company, you get exposed to the best artists in the world. Michael Jackson, met Billy Joel, met Bruce Springsteen. It was literally a dream.
I'm going to ask you a controversial question.
I doubt it. But whatever skill you've got, you can monetize that. A lot of people just never start. I just don't need or want to talk to somebody that's got a good idea. Everybody in the world has got a good idea.
If I was to flip the pages of your journal, what would I find?
You would find that
Clearly you had a pivot to cookbooks.
I just said one morning, I'm going to write a book, and I just got on with it. It was named the best in the world.
Did you expect it?
That's a great question.
What has it brought to your life?
It's so, we're living in a crazy, crazy, crazy world. And it's not going to get any less crazy anytime soon.
If you would describe yourself in three words, what would it be?
Positive, happy, and joyful.
Why?
Because, for a multitude of reasons. I'm just, working on projects that you think you were born for, I think is a big help. Having great friends, a great family, all of that stuff. All that stuff. We live in the greatest country in the world, and we've got a lot of opportunities. So there's a lot to be thankful for. A lot to be optimistic about.
So I think you would sort of like think of yourself as someone who's optimistic, someone who's positive and joyful. Do you think that you've done that throughout your life, or has there been moments where you weren't able to do so?
I think that's a good question. I think that, we're all made up so differently, aren't we? And I think I am wired in a more positive way, which I'm grateful for.
How are you wired? Like, is it your upbringing or?
Yeah, that's nature and nurture. We could discuss that, but I mean, I think it's a combination of, opportunities that you've been given in the past, a degree of success that you may or may not have happened or had, and all those make you who you are in an ongoing way. Yeah.
So I've been reading your book, Eat, Drink and Be Merry. Very a wonderful headline. And it says memoir, sort of. Mm-hmm. Why does it say that? Well,
because it's, it says sort of because it's not my entire memoir. We've got chapters still to write. So it's really, I guess, a work in progress.
You obviously talk about the growing up thing, and you discuss it in the book about, where you grew up and how your parents were and the kind of skills that they instilled in you, or the kind of attributes that they instilled in you that has helped you throughout your lifetime. And what are some of the things that your parents instilled in you that you are still so grateful for today?
I was discussing this with my brother the other day. If in this day and age there are helicopter parents, which, you know that phrase, helicopter parents, right? People that are all over their kids. We did not have that. There were no helicopters in my family. I had a very hard-working father. So we were pretty much left to our own devices. Like, I remember going to a school, a parent-teacher meeting with my son. And as I was driving home from that, I rang my own father and said, Dad, when I was growing up, I don't remember you ever coming to a parent-teacher meeting. And he said, no, I didn't need to take that kind of abuse from anybody. Like, Dad wasn't part of my schooling at all, right? And we were just talking about it the other day. I remember I was in a speech competition. Well, in this day and age, if a kid was doing a speech competition, every night at home around the table, they'd be practicing it and mum and dad would be help refining it. I went in the speech competition. I had not one bit of help from anybody. Like I remember I was 12 years old, wrote my own speech. I remember being tied with another guy, first equal, at the end of the night, once everybody had done their speeches. We were then sent out to do a 5-minute impromptu speech, and we came back and did that. I guess what I'm saying is that from a school point of view, and I never, ever remember ever discussing my work options with my father, ever, in my entire life, ever. So if we want to talk about home and home life and what's instilled in me, a loving family was instilled in me, a good work ethic was instilled in me, learning how to sail was instilled in me. That was about it. But, it was the classic 1950s family.
Your mother, on the other hand, was quite different.
Very different.
How would you describe how different you would describe her?
Well, look, my mum is now 94, all right? She's 94 going on 40.
Yeah.
She's the most interesting person I know. She probably reads 100 books a year. I try and have a glass of wine with her most nights on my way home. She's just an amazing person, a great gatherer of people. She's always having people for dinner. She's my inspiration. I think she's an absolute hero.
Did she spend time with you when you were a child?
A lot of time. Yeah, a heck of a lot. But I drove her crazy. I mean, I was a terrible kid. Terrible, terrible kid. My mum said that I sent her grey at 30, and I'm sorry for that.
She's the one who helped you find one of your most significant jobs.
Absolutely. Tell me about it. I left school at 15 with my FSC, which stands for Failed Skills Certificate. So I left with no qualifications. Like I was a block layer for a day. I was a fiberglass laminator for a week. I was, I had no prospects, none whatsoever. Mum found a job for CBS Records in the paper for a sales rep. She told me about the job. I went and applied for the job. I got it. And that job changed my life and my whole career path.
Because why? Why did it change?
Well, because I now had a job in an industry which was so exciting and somebody gave me a chance.
Do you think it was fate that you were...
Who would know?
You grew up loving music as you did.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody grows up loving music, or most people do, and so...
But to be able to have the chance to actually be employed...
That was never on. That was never...
Did you expect it?
No, of course not. I had no clue what I was going to do. Yeah. But, John McCready, who interviewed me, who was running CBS Records, I came in for a job, and he took me on the spot, and I'm forever grateful for that. Yeah. And listen, now I'm working for a multinational record company at 18 or 19 years old, and my life has changed. Yeah, forever.
As it, the 23-year-old you, what was the 25-year-old you self was like?
Well, I went through a fast track through CBS Records to the point that at 23 years old, I was made managing director. I was managing director at 23. I had 30 staff working for me at 23. It was the best job in the world. That was what my life was at that time.
It was been like a highlight, but a bit of a dream, bit of a wow. And then you had lovely encounters with a lot of artists.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you tell me?
I mean, oh my God,
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson, met Billy Joel, met Bruce Springsteen. When you're working for a multinational record company, you get exposed to the best artists in the world.
Tell us, what was it like?
Well, no, it was just, it was literally a dream because, artists particularly would come and they would tour New Zealand, so you would host them and you'd take them out for dinner and you'd really get to know them. So I had a lot of experience with artist relations in the early days.
What was it like meeting Celine Dion?
Well, Celine Dion was very different because I met Celine when I had my own business, not when I worked for CBS. So I did a venture. I ended up being her executive producer for the Miracle Project. So I got to know Celine very, very well, and we did a wonderful project together.
Yeah. What's she like? What was she like together?
Well, she's one of 13 kids, so she's very natural. And we went, my wife Anne and I went to her place for dinner in Las Vegas, and she showed Anne round, and Anne at that time was doing up our house, and she was just the warmest person in the world, and, you know, just a normal human being with an incredible talent.
Do you still get in touch?
No, no, I'm still in touch with her manager a little bit. In fact, I was in touch with her manager just last month. Yeah, because her new documentary has just come out. So, yeah, which is pretty amazing. Yeah.
Is it? I haven't watched it yet. Is it? Have you watched it?
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. She's currently battling with it's called stiff person syndrome, and it's her voyage through that.
Yeah.
It's a very moving documentary.
Yeah. You know, there was something interesting in the book that you had to see is if I had a fire in the house, there would be only two things that I would save. What are they? Yeah,
the two things that I would save would be the hand knitted socks that my mum has done for me, and my handwritten journals. So, two items that are irreplaceable. So, you know, in fact, at I think the opening cover of my book, I put a photo of Mum's socks, and she still, you know, she still makes socks. She still knits socks for me, and they're very, very precious. So yeah, you know, talk about things that money can't buy. That's a great example of it.
How many has she made you?
Well, she's actually knitted me probably about 40 pairs of hand knitted socks. So you know, they're my most treasured possession. Yeah.
I mean, they look really comfy and warm.
They're great. And no, you can't have any. Yeah.
Do you still wear them?
I've got a pair on now. Yeah. Yeah.
What's the other item that you
And the
would
other
say?
one is the journals. So, you know, I've always been a crazy journaler, and I handwrite them. I don't type. So, yeah, I just really just try and, capture my thoughts on the page of a book. And, you know what they say, a problem shared is a problem halved. And I find that when I write something down, the sting or the weight, you know, disappears when you put something on paper. And I think it's important to examine our own life and to keep an account of it.
I would love to dive deeper more into the whole journaling thing, because I feel like if you weren't journaling, you wouldn't be able to write this book.
That's possibly true. Yeah, I mean, you know, it gives you more. You know, when you write your own book, it's good to be able to find certain chapters of your life that you can actually read what was going on at that time. So yeah, the journals were helpful.
Yeah, and there's a real beautiful details in there. I don't think I have been as entertained and laughing out loud reading a book as I have reading your book.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I enjoyed writing it. So thanks, I appreciate it.
It's actually hilarious.
Good.
You talk about, first before I ask you that, actually, why did you write the book?
That's a great question. I think that I was probably just, between projects. You know, we'd done the Great New Zealand Cookbook, we'd done the Great New Zealand Songbook. You know, we'd done a lot of very, very big projects, and I just decided one day, I just said one morning, I'm going to write a book, and I just got on with it. And then, I'm lucky to have the finest designers in and around my life. So Tim Harper, who I've worked with for a long time, he designed the whole thing. And the book looks amazing, thanks to Tim. We had some great editors. And, you know, it was just important to me. You know, not many people have the opportunity to write a book, and I was grateful for the opportunity.
What do you think, what are people saying about it? Has anyone come up to you and said, look, Mary, I've read your book and it's changed my life? Or... Yeah,
look, honestly, about a month ago, I was at a supermarket, and two ladies in the same supermarket came and said they just read the book. So that's really, really cool. And I think that, you know, it provides people with their own inspiration, I guess. That's what it's all about. Yeah.
I certainly felt uplifted and joyful.
Good. I'm pleased about that.
And
Job done then.
Aside from all the business insights and stories that I was frantically trying to write down so I don't forget. One of the things that I loved about is that you talked about not doing well in school.
Yes.
So you left at school at 15. Do you think that if the school had a different system, it would have picked up that you're not suited for the academia side of things, and that you would have had an even better life as a businessperson,
Oh,
businessman?
definitely not. I couldn't have had a better life as a business person. That wouldn't be possible. I've had a fantastic life as a business person, and I'm grateful to have failed at school to put me on the path that it did. I mean, kids, they're 14, 15 and 16. We put so much pressure on them. What are you going to do with your life? They're going to university at what age? 17 or 18? I don't know, something like that. And they're trying to work out what they want. Whereas I just did all sorts of things, and I'm pleased to have had the opportunity to do so. So, yeah.
What I was also trying to lean towards is that, do you think our schools need to gear itself towards people who have this entrepreneurial hit, the side of them who want to be free to do what they like and be, it's kind of out of the box thinking,
Yeah, look, honestly, I'm not an educator. I can't comment on that. And I don't, listen, I feel sorry for schools when you put 30 people in a class, there's a syllabus to get through, and people find their own way eventually. The artists go in their direction, the lawyers go in their direction. It just, nature takes its course over time, doesn't it?
Because you talk about saying that, the difference between private and public.
Yes.
There's no difference between private and public.
No, I didn't say. I didn't say that.
Is it better? Is it better than the other? Is the private better than
listen,
the other?
I went through a public school, which means you didn't have to pay to go to school. My wife went through a private school, and she went through that from 5 years old. We put our kids through private schools. It costs you a small fortune. I'm saying I probably would have been better off putting that money in the bank and helping them get into their first home, because I think a decent public school is just as good as a good private school. That's really my point.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll move on from that, because I think the whole schooling question it's kind of a difficult one, because can it be better?
Look,
Yes.
listen, look, I'm not qualified to have this conversation.
Yeah. So,
But I will say though that things work out for people over time.
things work out, and I actually agree with you, because you are the example of that.
Well, look, again, coming back to the CBS Records opportunity, that job changed my life. 1,000,000%. Yeah.
You actually went on to work on one of the most successful CD collections, and that's the Piano by Candlelight.
Yes, with Carl Doy.
With Carl Doy.
Yep.
The design of the album had a lot to do with its success.
Definitely, yes. So I met pianist Carl Doy about 1987, give or take. He was playing in the lobby of an Auckland hotel. I was there with my wife, and I thought, God, whoever's playing that, I need to sign. I felt he had just a special touch. I signed him. I wasn't at CBS. I had my own business at this time. We recorded an album called Piano by Candlelight. It sold its little head off. It went great all around the world. Then eventually we did the Together 10 CD collection. And you're right, it was a very, very special design, which we went to a lot of trouble with. And of course, eventually, as you know, Oprah Winfrey got her hands on the Together collection, and she held it up and she named it her favorite thing of the year in her favorite things show, which was just mind-blowing.
Can you take me back to the feeling that you had when you found out?
Well, it was,
And this is Oprah Winfrey holding the book.
Yeah, it was, that's got to be an absolute and utter life highlight. There's just no two ways about that.
Yeah.
We had this little thing set up on the laptop which showed the online orders.
Yeah.
And I just sat at my laptop just pressing refresh, I think for 4 days in a row, because I think we were making a lot of money off each copy.
Yeah.
And every time I pressed it, we'd made some more money, which was just, My mum always said that you need to be in a business that makes money while you sleep. Mm-hmm. And this was a great example of being in business.
You didn't sleep for 3 days though, did you?
Probably not. Absolutely. No, it was all too exciting. And a total life highlight.
You had no idea this was going to happen, and perhaps you didn't even know that there was a bigger deal that was, that you did as well, like with CBS? Or
Sony, yeah.
with
CBS
Sony?
became Sony, yeah.
Tell me about that deal, and why was it so significant for you as, a young businessman?
Well, I think that everybody wants to have their work appreciated. And, you want to do, great work locally, and we've done lots of it. But also, it's wonderful when you can give your idea a passport, and next thing you know, it's happening all around the world. And we've had so many examples of that, of our work being recognised internationally. But, I think from, signing a pianist at an Auckland hotel to having that pianist music feature on the biggest show in America, that was mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing.
And I agree with you. It was mind-blowing how your little decisions that you took,
Yeah.
like the decision to go out for dinner with your wife,
Yep.
and then decision to go and have a cuppa
Yep.
at this Auckland hotel,
Yep.
and then the decision to just sit and not rush and actually pay attention to what's around you and actually get up and speak to that person. I found it amazing because can you speak into that for our young people?
I always say that opportunities don't shout, they whisper. And I think it's so, so true. Everybody's looking for the big idea. And I don't think there is such a thing as the big idea. I think the big idea comes when you do the small idea incredibly well. And that's certainly been the story of my life 100 times over. It just seemed like a good idea. Let's have a go. And that's what happened with Carl and the Piano by Candlelight collection.
Something that I really loved while I was reading your book, and that is, it's part of your Together collection, is that you said life is short. We must treasure the memories we have of evenings spent with great friends, great food, and great music. Did you come up with that?
I did. Yeah, that's a very deep story in itself. So, Anne and I were having dinner with friends of ours one night, Mark and Vicky Houghton. Vicky was preparing dinner and playing the worst guitar album I'd ever heard in my life. I said, listen, great meal, terrible music. And she said, you should record a better one, right? And so that was how the idea for Espresso Guitar was born, was from that dinner party. Vicky was diagnosed with cancer and died around about the time that we had just finished making that record, Espresso Guitar. So I dedicated the album to Vicky. And I said, life is short. We must treasure the memories we have of evenings spent with great friends, great food, and great music. So I dedicated that album to her. And that's where that idea came from. Espresso Guitar, massive hit, huge hit, part of the Together collection, came as a result of that little dinner party. Everything we're going to talk about is a small opportunity. Everything, yeah.
If someone listening who is, similar to you, likes to be creative and wants to capture great, opportunities, but maybe feeling a little bit lost, what is sort of your advice to them?
If it's a young person and they've got a job, for goodness sake, don't resign.
Yeah.
I think that just start it as a hobby. Maybe whatever skill you've got, you can monetize that. Start it in a very small way, a little cottage industry. I started as a little cottage industry, just working from home. And there's some of the most satisfying times of life. But, a lot of people just never start. That's their problem. They just never start. Honestly, I just don't need or want to talk to somebody that's got a good idea. Everybody in the world has got a good idea. Let's talk about the next step. The first steps that we're going to take,
How are you going to make it happen?
Yeah, just
What
make
are you
a
gonna
start.
do?
Make a start.
What I really loved also about this book is the people that you've had on the back. You've had Dame Drellis Cooper, who said, Murray showed me the subtle difference between nothing wrong with it and everything right with it. And she said, I reflect on this insight almost every day. I love that. So you clearly left a huge impact not on so many people, but including Cooper.
Yep. I mean,
It's beautiful.
It's like, people often, they've got their product or their service but they're not going back and they're not looking at, are they making it more amazing? Or are they thinking, oh, we're making good money, we've got a reasonable market share, let's not touch it, as opposed to just doing something great, because I think doing your best work is good for your soul. That's the most important reason to do great work, is it just makes you feel good.
I love it. I love what you said as well. Like the reasons why you have this book is to inspire, to lead people into more of a soulful exploration. Like you feed the soul. And do you think your book has, in the other things that you've done in your life, your CDs, your the Great New Zealand Cookbook, has it added a lot to your soul? Like it fed your soul?
Oh, unbelievably so. I mean, again, you just mentioned the Great New Zealand Cookbook. That was just an idea that we had, and we went around New Zealand filming all of New Zealand's top cook chefs and bakers, 80 of them on location everywhere. We went all around the place, and we created this cookbook of great beauty. And it was actually, we'd never done a cookbook before, but the Great New Zealand Cookbook, when it was launched 10 years ago, was named the best in the world, best cookbook in the world. I mean, so, that was very, very cool. So, you want your product and you want your service to enrich your soul, to take your words, but you also want to enrich the soul, I think, of the people that you're working with and around. That's important. Did they have a good time working with you? Did they have a good time working for you? What would people say about you, know?
Yeah, because you talk a little bit about that in your book as well, about leadership is about how you make people feel, and if they're going to feel good, they're going to do the thing.
Yeah.
And you've got to have a sense of community, like adding value to people. You wrote some affirmation notes to the people that you worked with and your family, and
yeah, but also I think that for me, I've only ever had one rule in business. Only one rule. Are you ready?
Tell me.
Don't eat at your desk. That's the only rule I've got. The only rule. So that if you're working with a group of people, or 5 or 10 or 20, whatever it might be, that nobody eats at their desk. You go to any shared space. I work in a big shared space myself at the moment. You've got 50 people hunched over their computer, eating, not even knowing what they're putting in their mouth, not enjoying their break. Then they're just, multitasking. And as opposed to sitting opposite your workmate and, just getting to know them. And if you do that, I think that's it's the quickest way, I think, to establish a culture is have people eat together. And if you do it every day, your culture, I think, is quite secure and quite safe, because you're breaking bread together. You're finding out about each other.
I mean, I agree with you, but
here we go.
There are a lot of people who are working from home, and
I can't count them in it.
You can't include those people.
I don't know what to do with them. Then don't work from home. It's a terrible idea.
Take the media industry.
Yeah.
So I worked in the media, and we had some days where we didn't even eat lunch. But for the days that we did eat lunch, there's no way that I would take 5 precious minutes and go and sit on the table and chat to someone. And there's no one even to chat to anybody, because no one is even eating.
Well, that's because nobody's doing it.
Exactly.
But if you make it a rule, then people have to do it. It's like nobody eats at their desk. It's as simple as that. So if I see somebody eating at their desk, that's not going to happen. We eat over here. So, yeah.
So do you eat with other people in the place that you work right now?
Yes.
And has it made a difference to your life?
No, it makes all the difference.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference. Yeah.
Right.
Listen, if you don't listen to anything else today, don't eat at your desk.
I love how you said in your book about what you know for sure, spending so much time with so many artists, is that by and large, the really successful ones are the best company and demand the least.
Yeah.
Please explain.
Well, look, I can't count how many artists I've spent time with in my life, like hundreds, literally hundreds. And I guess what I'm saying is that people that have been around the longest, by and large, who have forged a very good global career, are the easiest to get on with. They're the lowest maintenance. And so there's probably a tip there for all of us, just to make people's life not hard. The people that are around us, to make their life not hard.
You had a chance to have dinner with Freddie Mercury and George Michael.
Yes, I've eaten with both of them.
Yeah.
May they both rest in peace.
Yeah. For people who don't know Freddie Mercury, he's the
No, don't even explain.
The
If
lead.
you don't know Freddie Mercury, you don't explain it. Do not explain it. Carry on. They can Google themselves. If we have to explain who Freddie Mercury is, I don't know where we're at.
It's so funny because I knew that if I was going to do that, you're going to have that reaction.
Really? A good job.
Yeah. What do you think of the music industry at the moment, having gone through so many changes throughout these decades, and now with the introduction of AI? It's just fascinating to know what you think about it.
Look, from a business point of view, I mean, from a consumer, there's more music to, you know, you can listen to a world of music at no charge. That's from a consumer point of view. So that's a good thing. To make money in the music industry is incredibly difficult. You know, we don't need to talk about streaming and all that kind of thing, but just to say, when you had a physical product, whether it be all the way back to an LP, which has, of course, made a resurgence, with a CD and a cassette, there was good money to be made. There is very little money for artists to make out of streaming. But anyway, it's just a boring conversation talking about business and music, you know. And, of course, add AI into that and, you know.
Because with AI, anyone can create their own
They
song.
can, 100%. And that's going to be really fascinating. And I'm sure AI will produce some amazing music. I've got no doubt. Where people get paid, where that money goes, who knows? That's a whole other thing, you know.
But certainly for you, you've had this music industry, and you are still a music producer.
Yes.
But you had great success having worked in the music industry for some time, and then clearly you had a pivot to cookbooks.
Yeah. Well, that was because that was by necessity, not by design. With physical product, you know, we did the Great New Zealand Songbook. Huge seller. And then we did the Great Australian Songbook. These were very, very big sellers. But that was right at the time that CDs were being replaced with digital files of whatever flavour. And that was when I said, listen, chefs are the new rock stars. Instead of recording artists writing out their lyrics, let's have chefs writing out their recipes. And that's how we pivoted from the Great New Zealand Songbook to the Great New Zealand Cookbook. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a controversial question.
I doubt it.
Who's your favourite chef?
That's a great question. My mother, but she's not in the book.
That's a bit of
I could be a politician with that answer.
insulting.
What, insulting to who? My mother?
To your mom, yeah.
No. Oh, you mean she's not in the book?
She should be in the book.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Actually, we did. The truth is, once we'd done the Great New Zealand Cookbook, we then actually did a photo shoot with my mum, and we've actually got just a handful of copies with her in the first page of it, which is really quite precious.
Do you have a favourite recipe in there? or does it have to? Would it have to be your mum's recipe?
No, it wouldn't have to be that. Look. Honestly,
It's quite funny that you write a book about food and baking, and your favourite chef is not in your book.
no, I don't think that's funny at all. It's just you know, it's you know.
Well, it's interesting.
Well, look, honestly, you know, we had, you know, every chef you've ever heard of in New Zealand, Ben Bailey, Al Brown, Josh Emmett, you know, Simon Gold, everybody was in it. They all provided the most amazing dishes. We just went and we just ate our way around New Zealand. It was pretty remarkable.
So you travel around, you film, you eat with people,
Yeah.
and you produce amazing books. I mean, that's got to be, like, honestly, the dream job.
The Great New Zealand Songbook, Cookbook rather,
Cookbook,
was the dream job, 100%.
And if it wasn't the dream job being at CBS or being featured in Oprah, then it just keeps getting better.
It's better and also different. Yeah.
I think, you know, with all of that, and, you know, and thinking about all of that, and then comes the number plates, the personalized number plates business, which is like a little, like rose in the middle of the thorns. Or it's kind
Yeah,
of like
it was
image.
very different. That was in 1987, and a friend of mine, Peter Jordan, found an ad in the paper. It was a tender. It was in the tenders column where the Land Transport Safety Authority were calling for tenders to introduce personalised plates into New Zealand. And Peter and I put a bid in, and we just happened to win. After we beat about 50 or 60 other companies, and we started the personalised number plates in New Zealand in 1987.
So before that, there were no
Personalised plates.
personalisation
No,
number plates.
that was really
So-
just a private-public venture between us and the Ministry of Transport.
Did you enjoy what you did?
At Personalised Plates?
Yeah.
The start of that business I absolutely loved.
Yeah.
It was very, very different. We were bringing a product to New Zealand that had never been introduced before. I loved that part. So I found that part very inspiring. We had a great team. And look, we were just a little startup. But the business, from the day we started it, just took off because there was so much pent-up demand and everybody wanted a personalised plate, you know. It was fabulous.
It's crazy because now it's so common and it's like,
It is.
oh, there's nothing special about it.
Well, that's because it's been, it was 40 years ago that we started it,
Yeah.
nearly.
So technically you brought personalised plates to New Zealand.
Not technically, we did. Yeah, 100%. Thanks to the authority that the New Zealand government gave us via the Land Transport Safety Authority.
And what sort of business lessons did you learn from that you can share and pass on to people?
One of them would be, I sort of stumbled over a mantra when we were doing that business. And I just said, I just want us to be a pleasure to do business with. That was it. Because, you go to companies or you go to a foyer and they've got 10 rules or 8, whatever. Nobody's going to remember anything. I can't remember more than one thing on my best day. And we came up with, let's just be a pleasure to do business with. So whether you're dealing with a customer, you're a pleasure. A co-worker, you're a pleasure. A supplier, you're a pleasure. And of course, then it's so simple. If you go to work and you know that all you've got to do is be a pleasure to do business with, you can do that in whatever way that suits your personality. The introverts will be a pleasure in their own introverted way, and the extroverts will do it their way. And I just, we built that company on that mantra. Yeah.
How did you do that? Like, I know this is a big story, but like, how did you?
No, we just enforced it every day. We just, we talk to each other, we listen to each other on the phone, we help each other be a pleasure, and we're good to each other in the office. That's what I think another big, when you go to work, goodness me, I've been around forever, but when you go to work, you want the people around you to be good people, and you want to enjoy all day, Yeah. So,
And it goes back to having lunch with
that's
others.
part of it. Absolutely, that's part of it. You see, you're getting it now, aren't you?
Oh, of course.
You can stop working from home. Go to a shared office space and take your subway.
Are you offering me a spot in your
You
office?
can definitely come to the Parnell office. There's plenty of desks available there.
Awesome. Thank you.
Because everybody's working from home.
I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah, that's right.
So, can you tell me now about the Offering Project?
The Offering Project is a project which is very, very dear to my heart. I had the idea of the Offering Project before the Great New Zealand Songbook, before the Great New Zealand Cookbook. It predates all of them. And my idea was to take the gospel hymns from centuries ago, re-recorded them with the artists of our time, and give all the money away. That was it. So in other words, the artists would record as their own offering. They wouldn't take a royalty. We also had the painters, paint the hymns. So we had the hymns recorded, we had the hymns painted, and all the money went to the Salvation Army. So everybody came on board with their own offering. As it happened, around about the time of the terrible mosque tragedy in Christchurch, that's when we happened to release Whakaria Mai, How Great Thou Art, with Teeks and Holly Smith, which really became an anthem to the nation at that time. So, that's the Offering Project was a genuine life highlight for me, and now we're trying to replicate the creative and financial model around the world.
How?
Well, it's really just now inviting artists from other nations to come on board, the best in the world. We've just concluding a partnership globally with the Salvation Army, which will give us a presence and resources in 130 countries. They've got 100,000 employees. They're an amazing organization. They date back to 1865, I think. And they were formed around about the time that many of these hymns were written. So this is very much how I want to spend my time going forward, is working on the Offering Project.
What has it brought to your life, this Offering Project? I mean, this is your latest work?
We did the Offering in New Zealand 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So yes, it's recent.
Recently?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite recent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you are looking at following it up with international.
Yeah, it's taking artists that are in America or just all around the world, and having them take a gospel hymn that's really important to them, and having them record it, and having them
offer it to.
Yeah, offer it as a creative offering, but also as a financial offering, so that the proceeds go to the Salvation Army.
Tell me about the artists that you had to work with.
In New Zealand?
Yeah.
Well, in New Zealand, we had the likes of Kimbra, we had Dave Dobbin. As I said, we have Teeks and Holly Smith, we had Tammy Nielsen, we had Don McGlashan, we had Nathan Haynes. We had just a spectacular lineup. Did I say Dave Dobbin? Yes. So yeah, it was pretty amazing. And when we launched the Offering Project, we launched it at the Cathedral in Parnell, and Television New Zealand was there. They did the whole thing live. They recorded it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Do you think that we are not doing enough of these productions in our day and age?
What productions?
In terms of the Offering, getting a bunch of highly experienced artists together in one room and.
No, I think that has a it's expressed in many ways. There's all sorts of projects over the years that have done a similar thing, but because music is my passion and music is my career and music is the thing that I know, then the Offering Project was very dear to my heart. Yeah.
The Great New Zealand Songbook.
Yes.
What's your highlight from that?
That is a project with so many highlights.
How similar is it to the Offering?
In some ways quite similar, but of course with the Great New Zealand Songbook, we invited the artists to handwrite the lyrics of songs that they'd already recorded. They hadn't recorded them for us, they'd recorded them already. And so we had to license the songs from the artists and from the recording companies. But, Brooke Fraser came on board early and wrote out the lyrics to Albertine, for instance. So beautiful. Dave Dobbin wrote the lyrics to Welcome Home. Neil Finwer wrote the lyrics for Crowded House. I mean, it was just a sensational production. Beautifully put together. Dick Frizzell painted the front cover of the Four-Square Man holding the guitar. That was a massive, massive hit.
There seems to be a bit of a theme when it comes to the things that you work at. It often involves music, involves words, and involves pictures.
Yeah.
And those three elements are essential for enriching the soul, feeding the soul.
That's true.
If you had to start a new project, what would it be that it would incorporate those three things in our digital world?
Well, if you take the Offering Project, that does encapsulate all those things. So it does take the music, it does take the art, it does take the words. So that is my sweet spot. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the Offering, you have all the three elements together. So people, if they want to buy it, how can people get it? How can they?
Of course, in New Zealand, we had Dave Dobbin record Amazing Grace, but Dick Frizzell painted Amazing Grace, and that was sold as an original work of art, and then we also sold it as 12 prints. So that gave us another revenue stream, which and therefore benefited the Salvation Army on the way through. Yeah, which was just fantastic.
And actually, I can't help but ask: do people still buy hard copy paper? with the advent of digital and with the way that people consume everything on their mobile
But
phones.
but paper what? What are you referring to?
Books, let's go back to the 10 CD collection with the Piano by Candlelight.
Yeah, no, that wouldn't sell today.
20 years ago, that was a hit.
Yeah, massive. But no, that's not a thing today. But I think that people, art, of course, a lot of art, of course, is produced on paper. Of course, these days, a lot of art is produced digitally. But you've just got various ways, yeah.
If I was to flip the pages of your journal in the last month, what would I find?
You would find, it's a great question, by the way. That's the best question of the day. I love that question.
So everything else was
No,
crap.
every question was amazing, but that one is, given that it's the Olympics, is the gold medal winner.
Thank you.
I was journaling it, funnily enough, a lot yesterday and a little bit this morning, and I'm just currently thinking about Offering International, what we're doing, right now I'm dealing with a young artist in London who's about to give us our first track for Offering International, which I'm super, super excited about. I can't say who she is, but these are the things that I'm journaling about at the moment. It's like we need to keep encouraging ourselves because people are quite discouraged, I think, by and large. And I think journaling helps me to keep encouraging myself, keep fueling the fire in my soul. And so I think that, a lot of people are discouraged. Journaling helps me stay encouraged.
And that's really profound, because
Thank you.
you've clearly found your way to, like some people go and have a long hour chat with a friend. Other people go and eat and to get comfort.
And all of that is great.
And all of it is good.
Yeah.
In the right measure.
I don't know.
In a helpful measure.
You don't seem to be too keen to eat with other people, working from home.
I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I love people, and I love.
Yes.
I one of my favorite things to do is to cook dinner for friends and have.
Oh, how wonderful!
Yeah,
yeah,
that's really profound.
You'll continue to be very popular if you keep doing that.
Well, I got my brother a cup that said "Good cooks never lacks friends." Not this cup.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so
a great.
are you
That's a
good-
great saying.
Are you a good cook?
I'm an okay cook. My wife and I generally put the food together, between us. But yeah, we're basically just chicken or fish kind of people. We could be an airline steward. Chicken or fish, chicken or fish. They don't do that anymore. Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show and this podcast to chat to us, Murray. Final thoughts for our audience.
Look, firstly, thank you for having me, Mina. I've really enjoyed the session. Final thoughts. It's such a toughie. We're living in a crazy, crazy, crazy world. And it's not going to get any less crazy anytime soon. So we need to keep encouraging one another, looking after one another, doing great work that satisfies your soul, and just keep doing things that you're proud of. I think is really, really important. Just live a life that you're proud of. I think is just so important.
Thank you for saying that. I think one last thought I was going to say.
You said that was the last thing.
Yeah, I always say that.
What else have we got?
I don't think I've ever laughed in an interview as much as I've laughed in this one. I want to take you back to your high school teacher.
Oh yeah, Mrs. Megson. Yes.
She wrote something in your student report that said, Murray has got something really great and I believe in him.
Yeah, exactly.
Something along the
I
lines
was
of
about
that.
14. I could not have been a worse student or a worse person at 14. I personally don't think people should be allowed to be 14. That's just my personal thing. I think you should go from 12 to 25 and just miss all that out. I did terribly at school. All my teachers at school reinforced how bad I was, and Mrs. Megson said that I was actually okay and I had a great future. When I was really a ratbag. And it was funny. I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, I tracked Mrs. Megson down. Like 40 odd years after I was in her class, I tracked her down and emailed her and thanked her for the incredible effect that she had on my life. One person. One person.
It stood up for you.
Yeah. And but of course we've got that, what's the word? We've got that privilege ourselves by providing water to those that are around us that are thirsty or dying. We've all got, and that's what our lips do. That's what our words do. They feed people, they nourish people, they help people on the journey that we're all on.
That's beautiful. And that she had a massive impact on you. And I can tell that when you were writing about her, that she was a significant person in your life. And
Definitely.
It's really beautiful to see. And it's a little message to our teachers to keep going, because teaching is so hard.
Well, it's not just teachers; it's parents, for that matter.
Parents as well.
It's everybody in that respect.
And on that note, I just want to say, Murray, you are one of the very few people that I've met in my life who is so genuine and authentic and so creative and kind of a bit of a daredevil, kind of like take advantage of something amazing, opportunities. And I don't think I've enjoyed reading a book like I have enjoyed reading yours, and being able to delve into the story that we're so happy to share with the world. And I think it's a real privilege for everybody who is able to read your book. And so thank you for
That's
for
a
your
great
book.
little infomercial for the book to finish off. I appreciate it. Good times.
If people want to know more about
Send money now. Yeah.
If people want to know more about, Thom Productions and your work, where do they go?
Well, you've mentioned the book a lot. I think my book's available at the library. Go and get it from the library and have a read. I think that would probably do a lot of people good, and I'd be pleased to share my story. But just follow the Offering Project on Instagram. We're not posting at the moment, but that'll show you where that journey goes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Great, Mina. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.